Imagine standing in the center of an ancient bazaar at high noon. Merchants are shouting over one another, performers are breathing fire to draw a crowd, and the sensory overload is relentless. In a place like this, attention is the only recognized currency. The people who are valued are the loudest, the boldest, and the most aggressively visible. Now picture a young man working quietly in the shadows of these stalls. He doesn't have the charisma of the barkers or the flashy talents of the performers. He simply sweeps the floors and organizes the inventory. Because he operates in the background, he has internalized a heavy conclusion. He feels invisible and entirely useless. It is easy to look at our modern digital landscape and recognize exactly how this young man feels. When your peers seem to effortlessly broadcast their flashy successes, it is natural to feel drowned out and convinced that you have nothing valuable to offer. Into this chaos walks an antique dealer. He ignores the fire breathers and the screaming merchants entirely. Instead, he walks up to a vendor's scrap pile, picks up a dark, crusted object everyone else has ignored, and studies it with quiet focus. The dealer hands this unrecognizable, tarnished lump to the young man. He gives him one strict instruction: take this home and polish it for exactly 1 week. The dealer's focus suggests a different kind of sight. He is looking for something the crowd has overlooked, the potential buried under layers of neglect that requires a specific kind of eye to identify. For 7 consecutive days, the young man sits in the quiet of his room, pressing a rough cloth against the metal. It is tedious, solitary work. He applies steady, deliberate friction, hour after hour. On the final evening, the last layer of crusted dirt flakes away. The boy isn't holding a piece of scrap iron. He is holding a flawless, exceedingly rare piece of solid gold. Seeing the gold change from a dirty lump to a treasure through his own labor creates a shift in the boy's perspective. This transition from physical work to internal realization introduces a mental archetype, the objective inner observer. Think of this observer as the antique dealer living inside your own mind. It is the mental faculty that assesses your intrinsic underlying capability, completely detached from how many people are currently paying attention to you. The dealer in the market did not forge that gold piece. The gold was already there. He simply provided the boy with the framework and the discipline required to unearth his own pre-existing value. But there is a critical distinction to make between a physical piece of gold and human intellectual potential. Graph the value of restored physical assets. A gold coin hits a strict static ceiling once tarnish is removed. Now plot a cultivated intellect. Through continuous learning, it compounds, curving exponentially upward, breaking past the static limitations of physical objects. This compounding growth equips a quiet mind to navigate complex problems, connect disparate ideas, and ultimately reshape its environment over decades. It builds momentum that a loud, superficial presence simply cannot replicate. Flashy, attention-seeking performances depreciate the moment the crowd looks away. A quiet, steady intellect is an appreciating asset that outpaces the noise entirely. To tap into this compounding value, you must stop trying to compete in the chaotic market. You have to step out of the noise and become the master antiquarian of your own mind. The first step is to acknowledge the tarnish. Those persistent feelings of uselessness or invisibility are not objective truths about your capability. They are just the societal dirt you've accumulated from living in a hyper-competitive environment. Once you recognize the dirt, you have to apply the friction. Uncovering your self-worth does not happen through passive realization. It requires the deliberate, daily friction of deep mental effort. You can build this through a simple habit, the 15-minute polish. Carve out exactly 15 minutes of absolute, uninterrupted silence every single day. Use this time for deep mental engagement. Read a complex chapter of a book, or journal out a difficult problem. No screens, no audiences. Alongside this daily friction, begin an inventory of the quiet mind. Physically write down the specific moments where your patience, your careful observation, or your quiet restraint solved a problem that loud reactivity could not. Finally, practice tarnish removal. When you inevitably feel a pang of envy watching a peer execute a flashy, highly validated performance, immediately counter it. Remind yourself that gold does not need to shout to possess immense value. The world will always default to noisy distraction. The loudest voices will always command the superficial market. But beneath that noise, the quiet, focused mind remains a rare, compounding treasure. It only requires the discipline to polish it.